Okay, well, then let's do it. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the program today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Excited to be here.
Me too. So before we get into your good work, I want to know this. 6 years ago, this pandemic changed our lives, changed so much about the way we did our lives. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you operate today?
Well, actually, it was a really productive era for me. And that's because so much of business went online instead of in person. And so that is when I actually started my business to help people come across really strong on Zoom calls. And if they were doing keynote addresses or doing media interviews on Zoom or whatever video platform they were using, because a lot of people hadn't had really any experience on video. And so that was an opportunity for me to help people to really stand out on video.
So let's find out how you got here. And but before we do that, it's clear what you do for a living based on what you explained. But if you were in front of 13-year-olds at career day and one of the kids wanted to know what you do for a living, how do you synthesize all of it to make sense to their brains?
Well, I would tell kids that I help people to come across as best as possible anytime they're in front of an audience. And especially even with my kids, I've helped them because they've had to do little presentations in their classroom. And so we have videotaped them, and well, videotape's kind of an old term, but video them on the phone.
Yeah.
And they are surprised to learn how they're coming across. They didn't realize that. They didn't realize that when you're on camera or when you're in front of an audience, you have to project your voice a little bit. You have to make sure you have your energy level up, and you have to be able to communicate with clarity. And so that's what I help people do. Anytime they're in front of an audience, whether they're on a stage or they're on camera, whatever it is, I help them so that they can communicate well and hit it out of the park.
So how did we get here? What was your dream when you were that age and you were at career day?
Oh, well, when I was in career day, I wanted to work in the news. I
Okay.
would watch the news when I was a kid on TV, and I wanted to bring the news and bring the stories of the world to people. And so after I got out of college, I took a little bit of a detour and I worked in advertising, but then I went and did an internship at a local TV station, and then eventually got a job working in TV and worked in three different markets and did that for about a decade or so. And after I'd done that for about a decade, then I got to the point where, like, okay, I'm ready to try something else, but parlay my skills into something else. So then I went to work in PR and marketing, where I was still using my storytelling skills. I was talking to the media on behalf of an organization. It was kind of like on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
And I did that as well. And then when social media became a big thing, I started working in social media, using video a lot as well, doing live streaming and helping others to create videos for their social media.
So where are you from originally?
Well, my dad was in the military when I was little, so we moved around, but then
Okay.
we moved to Sacramento when I was like middle school age.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what was it about your early life and growing up that gave you this knack for being in front of the camera, for news, for helping people be in a better place when they present? How did this happen?
Gosh, I don't really know how it happened, just that I was always attracted to really strong communicators. And I think that's why I like to watch the news. I love telling stories and learning other people's stories. I think that everyone on this planet has something unique that they contribute, and
Hmm.
everyone has their own story. And I love helping people to share that with the world in whatever form that takes. It could be just a short or an Instagram reel where they're sharing 60 seconds about their day, or maybe they're in sales and they need to stand out in email. So they might send a 30-second Loom video, but they really want people to click on it. So I just have a lot of different interests where when it comes to communications and helping people do it in a way that makes them shine.
So who was the reporter? Who did you look up to? Who did you want to be when you were a kid?
I would say that I would watch the morning shows a lot. So I would say like Joan London
Yeah.
and Jane Pauley.
Hmm.
Yeah, I looked at those women, and then evening news, Tom Brokaw. So kind of like when I was growing up, and this was like in the 80s, you
Uh-huh.
had like the three big networks,
Of course.
and those were the people that you looked to. But I felt at that time that there was a certain level of trust and that people got into the business because they had that level of integrity, that they felt the same and they wanted to bring the stories of the world to people in their living rooms so that we could be informed and learn about what's happening.
It's amazing because I'm in that same Gen X generation.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was just a part of, you never thought that there was a fabrication or there was some subjective slant, right? Like,
Right.
I remember watching the movie about Cheney, and it was under his it was because of him that Fox News and that angle of really going at news in that direction started happening. Because yeah, when we were growing up, I mean, you had PBS, which even to this day is one of the more objective kind of news, outlets that are out there. But all of these people, Peter Jennings, all of them have this incredible level of integrity that you would never think that they were telling you something that was scripted or that was slanted, right?
Yeah, I think things have changed because if you look at how profitable it can be
Mm-hmm.
for an organization to speak to one certain audience, regardless, it could be anywhere you sit on the political
Yeah.
spectrum. But in a way, it's unfortunate because I think it's better for all of us to hear all different sides of an issue and then be
Hmm.
able to make up our own minds. But when we're only hearing one side of an
Yeah.
issue, then it's it's harder to, and it makes you wonder, well, wait, am I missing something here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So let me ask you this. Growing up, what was the first story you remember seeing on TV or seeing it being reported that jolted you, that you were like, whoa, like the gravity of it was massive, the way they covered it? Do you remember having that moment?
Yes, I do. And it's interesting timing because it was the situation where the Americans were being held hostage in Iran.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
It was the Olympic Village, right? Was it
Yeah.
Olympic? Yeah.
Well, I I'm getting my stories confused, but I think it was
Right.
when the U.S. Embassy was stormed,
Right.
and
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and the Americans were being held hostage, and that was the beginning of Nightline,
Mm-hmm.
the show with Ted Koppel,
Yeah.
because it was created to cover that big story because it was huge and it lasted a long time. And so not that I was staying up that late watching the show, but I would see like updates on the morning shows. I remember being in grade school at the time. And I thought, wow, it really hit me that it was a big deal. And I felt for all of those people. I can't imagine what that was like to be held hostage in a foreign country and not knowing what would happen. But the fact that as Americans, we were watching and we cared and we really wanted them to be able to come home.
It's amazing how everything is cyclical. Like
Yeah,
literally from like even when we think about 9/11 with the whole Afghan war, the Russians did it before, like, and we had entanglements. There is always these tentacles of diplomatic and international story that comes back around one way or another. And like with Iran.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now today we are in this war with Iran, and all this talk is about, well, 47 years ago. I mean, this has been going on for decades, and it is interesting the way things come full circle.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. Who's been that inspirational force in your life that's allowed you to have this dream and to navigate and to evolve to this place in new modern media? Who's been that for you?
I don't know that there's any one person, but I have watched different people that have become, I guess I would call them internet famous over the years. Um, People like Gary Vaynerchuk.
Hmm.
You familiar with Gary V?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So
yeah.
he's someone I guess I've watched over the past, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years. I don't know how long he's been on the scene, but watching what he has done with his career and just starting out as somebody posting on YouTube before anybody was really posting, and talking about his area of expertise, which at the time was wine, and then watching what he's grown into because of the power of social media. So I think that that is something that really all of us in business should be paying attention to people and how they're using messaging in general, whether it's video or static photos or just writing, like people writing on X. Dan Coe is another person that I've been following quite a bit, and he has podcast videos on YouTube, and then he does a lot of writing as well. But when you look at some of these people who have created quite a bit of wealth and large businesses based on their willingness to be visible, to be able to share their thoughts on a video and on social media, like we said, X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all these different platforms. Now, Substack has been becoming really big. And it's, I think, a matter of people looking at their their lives and their expertise and knowledge and figuring out, okay, well, what is it that I can share with the
Mhm.
world that people are going to find interesting, that can help people move forward with their lives or their businesses, whatever it is. But we all have something
Yeah.
that we know about that we can share.
But isn't it amazing to think from the era that we came from that we all have this level of having a platform, and if you're good enough, people are going to tune in. It's amazing to think that we've evolved to this place in the world.
Absolutely. And you see some folks on different um, platforms have their niche, and you would think, really, people are that interested? Like it could be knitting or making sourdough bread,
Hmm.
these kinds of things. And if you're interesting, you will find an audience.
Uh-huh.
And it's wild,
It
but
is.
there's an audience for every topic you can imagine.
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely there is. So let's say you went into a time machine and you could go back in time and cover one news story. What would be a dream story you would love to cover as a reporter?
Oh, wow. No one's ever asked me that. I guess just as a former reporter, I would probably say like a Watergate, a story like that,
Yeah.
where it started out as just people chattering and wondering what's going on. What is this? Does this have legs?
Hmm.
And it took a while before the doors really opened. So that's one thing. But I also think today, one of the big stories that's happening that it just really takes a lot of courage is uncovering all the fraud that's been happening. And, Nick Shirley, you've probably seen his reporting out there as somebody who's not affiliated with a news organization, but he's been tracking down where there are, where I'm in California, all these hospices that appear to be taking money,
Uh-huh.
taxpayer money, and they're not actually running hospices.
Yeah.
So that is, to me, I think that's been a fascinating thing to watch. This young, I call him a kid, this young
Yeah.
guy who's traveling around the country after he went to Minnesota, now in California, and just really disrupting this whole place. It seems like, I don't know, has it been like the worst kept secret all along? Is it clearly people have had to know about it?
Yeah. Yeah. It it just didn't get exposed. You had to have a renegade independent journalist, citizen
Mhm.
journalist almost.
Yeah,
Um, so we're entering, as we've kind of touched on, coming from our Gen X roots of Howard Cosell and Ted Koppel and all these figures.
yeah,
We've
yeah,
gotten to anything and everything, including AI generated humans or people or
yeah.
whatever they're called. So what is it, what's the energy for you every day to be a part of this very evolving world of media, of presenting our message, of getting it out? How do you stay on top? What gives you the energy every day? Because news stories and the cycle that we're in right now is clowny in a way that I never thought we would get to. How do you keep positive and hopeful and energetic for your clients and for what you do?
Some of the news stories you just can't really spend much time or energy on because it can be really draining. So I focus on the goals that my clients have and also people that I want to work with, people that I'm following. And a lot of that I find more positive on LinkedIn and
Yeah.
people sharing like what's happening with their business, where they're trying to grow it, who their business helps. And I guess I follow a lot of coaches too, since I'm in coaching. And I feel like there's a lot of really strong positive work that's happening out there, but we don't hear about it as much because the old term, if it bleeds, it leads, where
Hmm.
there's the negative stuff gets a lot of the attention. But if you curate your feeds, so if you're just interacting with the people that you want to hear from and you're liking and spending time on content that you're interested in that is more positive, then the algorithm is going to feed you more of
Yeah.
that. So you can kind of get out of the doom loop to some degree. But at the same time, I don't want to be uninformed. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
have any like not have any idea what's going on in the world. But at the same time, I don't want to spend much time on negative issues.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be in a vacuum. That can be just as dangerous. Um,
Hmm.
let's say you have a dream tonight. You ran into the 18-year-old version of you and you walked into a room and there was a big film projector and you went up and you hit play and it was a 60-second highlight reel of the life you've lived. Would that young version of you believe your life turned out this way?
I would say probably, yeah, because
Yeah.
I've always had a view that things are going to work out, even though I have no idea how they will. And I remember even when I decided that, okay, I'm really going to go for this. I'm going to become a news reporter, and that's just what I'm going to do. I had already graduated from college, so I had to go back and do an internship. And while I was interning, I was also working at, I went to a temp agency so that I could work part time. They assigned me to an office that was a company. I guess it was a little bit like the TV show The Office in terms of it was small, you had a cast of characters there. And so I was hired to do the answer the phones and do like filing back in the day when people filed things and had hard copies of things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was hired just to do whatever around the office that needed to be done. And they thought that I did a good job. So they approached me to say, hey, would you consider working with us full time if are you interested in that? And I said, well, I appreciate the offer, definitely, but I'm actually going to go be a news reporter, a news anchor. And they go, oh, what you mean like you're gonna be like Barbara Walters or something? I go, oh, something like that. And they go, oh, okay. Like thinking like, really? Okay, we'll see if that happens. But I was like, well, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And I just believed that I was and that it would all work out, even though I didn't know how it was gonna work out.
Yeah. So, what was the first story that you covered with a personality that you were kind of be speckled by? Because in this industry, when you run into people, they could be heroes, they could be people that you looked up to, but you have to pull it all in because you're a professional. What was that moment where you had to take all of that adrenaline and keep it at bay?
Hmm. Let me think about this. It's been a while. Well, I'll tell you one crazy story. My first job in news was working in Las Vegas, and I was a field producer at the time. So, a field producer does um, basically everything a reporter does, but just you're just not on camera. So, you
Hmm.
go out and you research ideas, you go out and do interviews with people to get the interviews, you do some writing, kind of put the stories together, and then the reporter would come in and she would do the narration on the script and then be the one on camera presenting the story. And so I was out. It was a fight night, and it was when Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson were fighting, and that was like the biting off of the
The
ears.
ear. Yes.
So I was covering that as a field producer, so it wasn't on camera. But I went and like the incident happened, so the media, everybody freaked out, like
Oh,
what's
yeah.
what's going to happen next, right? So then I ran outside. It was like I was told, hey, the ambulance is coming. Go find out what hospital they're going to. So I was like, okay. So I ran out, and this is before the HIPAA laws and everything.
Yeah.
And I went out to and I was just looking around, like so. Then I went to an exit where no one was there yet, and one other reporter showed up. So I thought, okay, well, there's one other person here, so it must be it. All of a sudden, the doors fly open. Evander Holyfield comes out on a stretcher. ambulance, everything shows up. And I just quickly tapped one of the paramedics. I was like, where are you going? And then he's like, oh, here. So he told me just like on the fly, like, great, called it in, like, run. Everybody goes there. So then we get there. And again, before HIPAA laws, so I get there and I just walk through the hospital, like trying to find him. Like, where is he? Right.
Wow.
I got to his room and I saw, I was like, and then when I got to his room and I looked in, then they were like, no. And they closed the
Yeah.
door, like, you're out of here. I was
Wow.
like, okay. But that was a really surreal experience
Hmm.
because I was new. It was my first job in the business, but it taught me like what it takes to
Hmm.
like have to go get the story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great story. So, of everything that you've done, everything you've evolved to and accomplished, what are you the proudest of? What are you the happiest about?
I would say the happiest is actually more now when I'm able to help people with a transformation. Like sometimes I'll work with a client who's terrified to be on camera.
Hmm.
Like they just are maybe severe introvert. They don't want to be on camera, but they know that this will definitely help them with their business and their personal profile. So to be able to get over those fears and really get the confidence together to record videos on camera or be able to serve on a panel or do some speaking event where they're going to be recorded and then they are proud to put it out on social media or to show people to put it on their website, really helping them overcome that obstacle of, fear of visibility, fear of putting yourself out there. I mean, it's real for a lot of people, but
Yeah.
I hate to see people like holding themselves back, playing small, that expression
Mhm.
because they have these fears that they haven't overcome yet. So I really get a lot of satisfaction out of helping people do that.
So, Susan, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you in varying capacities, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I think I'm someone who's very caring and empathetic. I understand what people are feeling, the fears that they've had. I did a LinkedIn post a couple weeks ago about how I actually went through a period of having a fear of public speaking or having anxiety about public speaking. And I wrote how I had gone to Toastmasters for a while to overcome that. I don't know where it came from, but here I had done live TV, I'd done a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
And then when I was in my most recent job and I had to do presentations, I suddenly had this real major anxiety about public speaking. So like I've been there too. I know what it's like. So yeah, like I'm empathetic, I'm caring, but I'm also competent and I know what I'm talking about. So when people consider working with me, I always say, look, you need to work with somebody who knows what they're doing
Yeah.
that can help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's why hiring a professional coach is sometimes the answer for people. Not always, but sometimes, because if you ask your family or your friends or your coworkers, they might have opinions or they might tell you something, but they don't necessarily know
Hmm.
what you need to do
Yep.
to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At one segue point of my career, I worked a United Way campaign and I was
Mhm.
in a school and there was a broadcaster, a sports broadcaster that was really big in town that came in. He was terrified to talk to the kids. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Right? You're on
Yeah.
camera all the time. You're talking to an entire city every night. And these
Mhm.
kids, but it's
Yeah.
weird how the brain works. It's a weird, it's almost like you have to have a degree in psychology to peel back the layers of like, I mean, people like JFK had a huge fear of public speaking for a while. You know,
Oh,
the King's Speech, that movie, you would
yes.
imagine this person like came out of the womb speaking a
Mhm.
dialect that no one could understand, but it all has psychological roots of everything that we've lived through. And it's interesting to look at.
Yeah, and it's different when you are speaking and there's an energy in the room. You're looking at faces,
Uh-huh.
they're reacting, they're nodding. So when you're talking like you and I are talking, we're just talking through the lens of a camera. So you get used to that. So if
Yeah,
you're on TV all the time, you're just talking to a camera.
true.
You're not talking to, and then all of a sudden if you have to do an event where you're speaking to kids or you're speaking to like a Rotary Club or something and you're there, it's like, wow, there's like 50 people and they're all looking at me.
Yeah. And then the kids are all wiggling around and probably
Right.
doing whatever they're doing. And it's just this sea of like sea lions bobbing around. Um,
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to reach out, they want to hire you, they have questions, they want to start this journey of being better on camera, how do they do it?
Yeah. So you can reach me on LinkedIn, send me a DM. That's probably that's the platform I'm the most active on. It's just Susan Siravo on LinkedIn, and then or you could just email me uh, info. Wait, oh, hello at susansiravo.com.
Okay. I will put that link in the show notes. Susan, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. Thank you for your story. I appreciate it. I'll shout it from the mountaintops.
Thanks so much, Joe. Take care.
Thank you. You too.